Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. On today's show, Kyle Bauer is back at K-State's Risk and Profit Conference with Gregg Ibendahl. Gregg talks about the model he has developed over the past 15 years to predict fertilizer prices. Next up, Greg Akagi brings us the Kansas Soybean update. Then Duane Toews talks with K-State Research and Extension agent Brian Rees about bluestem grasses. Find out which ones are invasive or beneficial to your pastures. Next is the Kansas Farm Bureau update. And then on Plain Talk, Kyle and Duane discuss carrots. Do they come in purple? It's all coming up. Stay tuned.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about employee safety and work comp coverage. On your farm, do you ask your friends to come help? Are they considered employees or neighbors helping neighbors? Did you know that you can be held responsible just as if it's a work comp accident? Give me a call, we can discuss. 316-945-6733.
Imagine turning soybean oil, used cooking oils, and waste animal fats into fuel so amazing it drives U.S. jobs and our economy forward. Learn more about biodiesel at americasadvancedbiofuel.com.
For the 15th annual Fall Bull Sale at Gardner Angus Ranch, Monday, September 30th at 9 a.m., featuring approximately 450 registered bulls, 160 registered females, including 35 cows and 125 heifers, and 300 bred commercial females. These are elite herd sire prospects and rank in the top percentiles of the Angus breed for calving ease, growth, and in-product merit. Catalog will be available at GardnerAngus.com. Register for online bidding at liveauction.tv. It's business as usual, producing value-added seed stock that provides opportunities for profitability regardless of our customers' chosen marketing endpoint. See you in September at the ranch.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Kyle Bauer is back at the Risk and Profit Conference with Gregg Ibendahl to discuss his method of predicting fertilizer prices.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with the Risk and Profit Conference at Kansas State University, visiting with Gregg Ibendahl, and we just looked at the predictability of fertilizer prices. And I got to tell you, the model that you've come up with, Gregg, is just startling. Tell us how long have you been working on this model?
Oh, really, probably for at least 15 years, because my first job out of college, I was working for the University of Kentucky, and I've always been kind of interested in cost for farmers. So, obviously was an immediate issue to look at. What would it look at for fertilizer costs for farmers? What can we do to help farmers save money, and is there a way we can predict what it is going forward?
Well, the predictability of fertilizer ended up being a very strong correlation, but you started out thinking the correlation would be something different than it ended up with.
Yeah, you would normally think that fertilizer should be very highly correlated with the natural gas price because they do make all the nitrogen products from natural gas. So you think that would be a natural correlation. And I first started my career looking at those correlations between natural gas and ammonia and anhydrous. And it turns out none of those models really worked very well. There was too much variability in the natural gas market for me to get a good model that actually worked.
And you eventually stumbled onto a correlation. I shouldn't say stumbled on, a correlation that most of us wouldn't have thought of.
Well, I started looking around, what's another substitute for natural gas? Well, obviously oil is a substitute because you can use those in a lot of similar situations. So just as a really to see how it would do, I tried looking at the correlation between the oil price and the fertilizer price, and it turns out the correlation was really quite strong.
And you put some delay in that in that price.
Yeah, it didn't match up exactly, but when you start to look at it like an 8 or 9 month delay in the oil price to predict fertilizer price, it becomes pretty close. And I kind of use that then as my supply side of the equation. Well, then I thought, we got something that's going to help on the supply side. Let's also maybe look at some driver for the demand side. Corn is a big user of fertilizer, so then I use the corn price as a driver for the demand side. And when you combine the two together, you get a correlation that's just spot on.
I agree, spot on. It was just amazing to look at that chart, and you've got that data back for several years.
Yeah, I basically based my model on the national fertilizer price going back to about 2010 or so. So I got about 9 or 10 years worth of data going into this.
Then you looked at whether that correlated with other fertilizers other than nitrogen.
Yeah, so I looked at, how closely is this model going to work so I can predict, anhydrous pretty closely, but can I predict the other fertilizers as well? As you might expect, things like urea, where there is, it's just basically another version of N, those track really close. But even things like potash, where there's no this burning of fuel like you do for anhydrous, even that fertilizer tracks really close.
Okay, so how do people get this formula? Because where it lags for 9 months, what are the 3 items? Is it 3? It'd be 3 items you have to put into the formula.
Well, really, the model is based on, actually 2 things. It's based on the price of oil, and it's based on the price of corn. Now, the good thing in my model is, the way my model works, it's actually using the price of oil from 9 months ago to predict the price of fertilizer today. So when you're using the model, you already have the price of oil, and you can actually then predict 9 months in advance with numbers that are already known. Really, the only part you have to come up with is to come up with some estimation of what you think the corn futures price is going to be. And there's on the Chicago Board of Trade, there's all kinds of future prices out there. So that part of the model really is not that even hard to come up with.
So how do people get a hold of the formula? Is there a website they can go to? How do they get that?
Yes, if you go to our Ag Manager website, I had this paper written up. It's probably from about March or so about predicting fertilizer prices, and I have the exact equation that I used in there. I try to update that about every year here. So about every spring I will come up with a revision of the model. I think my model is actually pretty robust because I did this a couple of years ago, and the equation wasn't really that much different than what I'm having today here. So the model really hasn't changed much after a couple of years.
We're visiting with Gregg Ibendahl, and we're talking about his formula for predicting fertilizer prices through the next year. This is Kyle Bauer reporting from the Risk and Profit Conference.
Thanks, Kyle. Folks, come back after these messages for this week's Kansas Soybean Update.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agamandkansas.com.
What if sustainability were synonymous with U.S. soy? If energy efficiency, water quality, and soil health help define U.S. soy's value, that future is here, the time is now. To meet end-user demands, the Soybean Checkoff is committing to sustainability that's achievable, worthwhile, and enduring. A message from the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Clyde Sutton, Ness City, Kansas. Lived on this place all my life. About a year and a half ago, got to where I couldn't saddle a horse. The pain was terrible. Read about stem cell. First it wasn't for me, then they started doing neck and back. Went and had it done. As you can see, I saddled a horse. I'm still building fence. Love to shoot a shotgun rifle, and I'm able to participate, not like I used to, but nevertheless I can do the things I used to do, and life is good.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission, the Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Sherry Seifert is joining us. She is with the Kansas Soybean Commission. And Sherry, Kansas Soybean Commission, well involved in the Kansas State Fair, and that includes the Invent a Heart Healthy Food soy foods recipe judging as well.
We had some wonderful entries at the fair, and they're really making it hard for us to judge these. They're just coming up with some very clever, easy, and very nutritious items that they've made for us.
You had 3 different types of classes for dessert, a main dish or entree, and quick and easy snacks.
Yes. We started out with dessert, that's always top priority. There was a chocolate ice cream that was very simple to do, just throw everything in a blender and then put it in a freezer. And then we had custard, and it was very good, and it was made with the soy. And we ended up choosing the ice cream because it was the easiest, and it not only extremely easy, but it was very delicious and had a good choice of soy foods. The winner for the desserts was Margaret Miller from Babcock. Then we had our main dish that we judged was next. And we had spaghetti, and they even make a spaghetti out of tofu, and a veggie protein Frito pie, and we had a breakfast taco. We ended up going with the breakfast taco. It required more ingredients, but it was more well-balanced with the soy foods, and that came from Ginger Lehman from Hutchison. Then our quick and easy snacks. There was a Frito cookie, and they used the soy butter to make that cookie, and then we had our soy butter snack bars, and we had a creamy edamame hummus dip, and then a chocolate roasted edamame delight, which was just melted chocolate with roasted edamame nuts in it. That was very simple and very delicious. So we ended up choosing the snack bars, and they was made by Nicole Conrad from Topeka. And Jancy Hall and I did demonstrations beforehand. We made a soy protein ball, and that recipe is in our soy food guide that just came out. And then a fruit smoothie, and then edamame salad. We used it as a dip, but it can be done as a salad. And it had dried cranberries in it. It was very simple and easy to put together. And this year was one of the best interaction from the audience that we've had. Lots of inquiries, where to get their stuff, and different things. But it was a great day.
You can also find a full list of the results at kansassoybeans.org/judging. That's on the Kansas Soybeans website. That is Sherry Seifert with the Kansas Soybean Commission, who joins us on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Coming up, Duane Toews and Brian Rees talk about blue stem grasses.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business that started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for the grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well on their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer and work with you.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about employee safety and work comp coverage. On your farm, do you ask your friends to come help? Are they considered employees or neighbors helping neighbors? Did you know that you can be held responsible just as if it's a work comp accident? Give me a call. We can discuss. 316-945-6733.
The Kansas Wheat Innovation Center in Manhattan is rediscovering ways to get improved varieties and new genetics in the hands of farmers faster. Grower-led and checkoff-funded research initiatives are bringing about positive change. This grassroots leadership provides a strong voice in Topeka and Washington, D.C. Now is the time to partner with Kansas Wheat in moving wheat forward. Kansas Wheat Commission and Kansas Association of Wheat Growers. Farmers investing in their future and yours. Log on to rediscoverwheat.org.
This segment brought to you by Sure Crop, liquid crop nutrition delivered right to your farm.
We're back. Now Duane talks with Brian Rees about which blue stem species are beneficial to grazing pastures.
Duane Toews joining you once again here on Ag AM in Kansas, and an opportunity to catch up with Brian Rees, ag agent in Lyon County with K-State Reasearch and Extension. Brian recently had a chance to talk with producers about an invasive species that's becoming a bigger issue in the Flint Hills, Old World Blue Stem. Can you give us a little better definition of what that entails?
Well, that was one of the questions today that really got a little bit concerning, was that there was confusion between the native blue stem species that are here in the Flint Hills versus the Old World blue stems that originated in Europe, Eastern Europe, Asia, North Africa. And that is the one that is tending to come into this part of the country and become an invasive species, causing some issues growing into the native regions. It is a warm season grass. It is not technically a blue stem, but that's the name. The two that are generally considered old world blue stems are Caucasian blue stem and yellow blue stem. There are some very distinguishing characteristics, but by and large they are generally shorter statured. They are a little bit earlier maturing. They tend to have much less feed value, much poorer palatability. In general, they will eat them, but they would prefer to do the native species more. One of the improved varieties of the yellow blue stems would have been King Ranch blue stem, and that was one that had been actually planted in other parts of the country. And I understand there are some places within the state of Kansas that it is being cultivated. Concerning the Flint Hills, because again, we are blessed in the Flint Hills with the native warm season grasses. Cattle do very, very well on them. Not the situation with the old world blue stems, and it's not going to be very easy to try and control.
That leads to the next question, Brian. When you think about control, you referenced in your presentation, it's a little bit different when you have an invasive grass species versus a broadleaf.
That's exactly right. And one of the other invasive species that we deal with here in the Flint Hills region is Sericea lespedeza. It's really an issue here in the Flint Hills, but it is a planted forage in other parts of the country. And so consequently, there hasn't been a whole lot of research dollars based on the chemical companies to develop herbicides to go ahead and work on that. But that is a broadleaf species in a grass, as opposed to trying to take a warm season grass out of a warm season grass. Presents some issues. A couple of herbicides that work basically are generally considered to be almost bare ground treatments, one of them being glyphosate or Roundup is the common trade name. Another one is imazapyr, which is the common trade name of Arsenal. And at the labeled rates and at the recommended rates, the imazapyr allows some of the warm season grass species, especially the native blue stem species, some survivability. Roundup is pretty much if it's green, it'll kill it.
We think about going back to why it's an issue, and you referenced the palatability and nutritional value certainly is subpart of what we expect out of our big and little blue stem, Cytosgrama, and some of those.
That's exactly right, and said it before here on the spot, the native warm season grasses that we've been blessed with here in this part of the country, the big blue, little blue, a little bit of the little blue, all of a sudden you end up with the Indian grass, switchgrass, some of the side oats, even to the extent of some of the eastern gamma grass that normally you don't find in the grazed pastures, simply because the cattle will selectively graze it out. Those things are tremendously more palatable than the old world blue stems, and so consequently we want to do everything we can to preserve the population of the native species and not let them be overrun by the invasive species.
Our thanks to Brian joining us here on Ag AM in Kansas. Jamie, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Duane. Come back after the break for this week's Kansas Farm Bureau update.
Kansas Corn reminds you that E15 fuel is the right choice for every kind of driver. For the car enthusiast, E15 has higher octane. For the thrifty driver, E15 is priced lower than regular unleaded. For the nature lover, E15 provides cleaner air. For the shopper who buys local, E15 has more ethanol from our Kansas corn farms. Choose E15 for a higher octane, lower price, cleaner American fuel. Message from the Kansas Corn Commission. Learn more at kscorn.com. Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Farm Bureau update.
We chose to take 2 days worth of this tour instead of the full 3 days. So we started in Wichita and then came on out with the rest of the group.
Well, our number one attraction was ending in Colby so that we could see our son and wife and our grandkids.
The basic reason I'm involved is for the insurance because I'm a hobby farmer. We only have 37 acres, and we never have really been involved in production agriculture, but we have a lot of good friends in Farm Bureau. We do live in a rural community. Farm Bureau had the best rates for property insurance, automobile insurance, and all of that. And then, of course, the fringe benefit is just being able to have the social benefits of coming on tours like this and going. We've been to the YF&R meetings in Manhattan a couple of times because of Caleb and Chanda's involvement. And so it's always a good time for us.
Farm Bureau does advocate for the farmer, and they share a lot of our morals and beliefs. So that's a part of what we want to be involved in.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break with Plain Talk.
Kim Mannering with Hardy Insurance. Today we will talk about umbrella coverage. Did you know that if your cattle get out, you could be held liable for that? Call me. Let's have a discussion. 316-945-6733.
You don't have to be a farmer or rancher to become a Kansas Farm Bureau member. Anyone can join. As a member, you'll get discounts on things like hotels and entertainment, health and wellness services, cell phone plans, and more. You'll also strengthen the lives of your fellow Kansans and help build strong, prosperous communities through agriculture advocacy and education. Join us today. Visit kfb.org/join to learn more.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
Welcome back. Now let's see what Kyle and Duane are up to on Plain Talk.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer with Plain Talk, with the guy who understands when he goes on vacation, take half as many clothes as he thinks he needs and twice as much money, Duane Toews.
Well, I tell you, one's easier to go through, or you go through faster.
The clothes thing is just crazy, though. I mean, as much as you and I travel,
right?
I mean, we are seasoned travelers, and I still take at least 40% more clothes than I need.
I don't know if it's 40%, but I always have that fear of.
Yes, that's the
do
way
I
with me.
spill on myself at breakfast?
Right.
And I need to change clothes.
Right.
And most of the time when you and I are traveling together, it's business attire. So we're suit, coat, and tie, white shirts predominantly, or solids, coloreds, whatever. It's kind of embarrassing if you got ketchup on it.
Well, yeah, no, exactly right.
And so you plan and you take extras for that, and we cart it through the airport to the motel, to the closet, to the motel, to the airport, and back home again.
But we always just carry on.
Right.
And people are surprised that we can be gone 4 or 5 days with a carry-on bag.
Sure.
And quite honestly, half the stuff in there
I wouldn't have to have.
Wouldn't have to have. But like
about
you say,
a third of the space is because I've taken another pair of shoes or boots.
Yeah, they
along.
take up space.
That takes up a lot of space.
Yeah, one thing we can get away with that women can't is, I know I do it on purpose, I wear white shirts all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, you know, they don't know if I have 5 white shirts along or 1. They're all the same. Yeah,
they might notice if you only had one.
I always hang them up at night out the window of the motel.
That's what the guy was pointing at the other day.
Yeah.
Your fact or fiction question of the day, Kyle Bauer. The original carrot was purple in color. Fact or fiction?
Purple carrots have made a comeback. I have not had any, but I've been reading about it. But then when I read about it, that is actually the original color of carrots. That's a fact, Jack.
It is, back all the way to the 7th century.
Yeah, I don't know why they got away from it. Because they are making.
They weren't K-State fans.
Have you had the purple carrots?
I have not.
I have not either, but they are somewhat available out there.
Some of the heirloom vegetables, which are basically old varieties that are coming back,
right?
Being brought back. Purple is used a lot. I know there are purple tomatoes. There are purple cabbage, which that's normal.
Purple lettuce.
Purple lettuce. There is purple potatoes and sweet potatoes.
Right. That's right. I've had both of those.
So interesting. What makes that gene?
And do you think it affects the taste in any way?
I really don't think I notice a lot of taste difference.
I haven't had enough to really adjust the difference, though. a sweet potato is supposed to be orange.
Yeah.
I mean, unless I'm going to eat
the
in the dark.
synapses in your brain are like, my eyes and my brain are not connecting on this.
You know, when my daughter got married, or my youngest daughter, last one to get married, her colors were green and orange.
Okay.
And she said, Dad, just take care of the meal. And I said, great. So I went to my friend that was a caterer, and I said, Brad, we got full rain here. What are we going to do?
What are we going to feed them?
And first thing he asked was,
what are her colors?
Exactly. And I said, orange and green.
And he said,
peas and carrots.
Peas and carrots it is.
He said, peas and carrots it is. And I will tell you, my daughter didn't know till she went through the line what the meal was. I don't even remember anything else on the meal. It was all wonderful. But when she came to them, she said, peas and carrots? And I said, look at your colors.
It's orange and green. How could I have done any better?
How could I have done any better? So she was satisfied. My wife was appalled. Never been to a wedding that had peas and carrots. Yeah. And quite honestly, I love peas and carrots. And we
you
had
paid
a few,
the bill,
and
so.
we had a few left over, so I got all the leftovers. So we didn't have a huge number, though. In my opinion, that's how you can tell if you've got a problem or not on your menu. If you have just one item left over, that one didn't work very well.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.